Okay, so earlier we were discussing about the polarization in dielectric materials. So now today we will discuss about the continuity equation. Continuity equation and relaxation time. So what is meant by continuity equation and what is meant by relaxation time? So we will derive what is this continuity equation. Okay. So now from the principle of charge conservation, okay, so the time rate, so if you take some volume, okay, so the volume which is actually contains the some charge, okay, so that charge within a given volume, so it must be equal to whatever the charge which is containing this volume, so that should be equal to the current which is flowing out of this volume, so that equal to the rate of change of decrease of this volume. That is, whenever the current is flowing, so the charge decrease happens within this volume, okay, so that rate, so that is equal to the net outflowing current. So if I take the outflowing current of this volume, okay, so from the surface of the volume, so that will be equal to the rate of decrease of this charge. So that we can write in the form of equation which is equal to I out, so which is equal to the, we can say from the current density also, so this, so also equal to the rate of the decrease of charge. So that is what, so the I out which is equal to rate of decrease of charge, okay, and also we can write with respect to the current density which is equal to J dot ds. This we already know, the current density, so the surface, so integral of the current density which will give the current, okay. So now as I said, the Q in, so whatever it is total charge which is enclosed by this, so volume or closed surface we can say, okay. So whenever we have a closed surface which will be actually called it as open volume, okay. So now we know the divergence theorem. So what actually the divergence theorem? So J dot ds, okay, so the closed surface integral, so which will be given by, so the volume integral of the divergence of this current density, okay. So now similarly if I apply this to, so the above equation, so what we will get? So we know that, so dq in, so divided by dt, the rate of change of charge, so which is equal to minus d by dt of, so now this q we can write in terms of the volume, so that integral, okay, so that contains, so whatever q which is equal to the volume integral, so that even one more equation we have, so that is closed surface integral of d dot ds which is equal to, so the volume integral of rho v into dv. So that we can, so equate it to that q. So that we can write it as volume integral of rho v into dv. By using that equation we can write it as. Okay, so now this we can write it as again, so this will be equal to minus integral of, so this rate of change of, so rate of change of with respect to t, so we can apply to this volume integral, so that is del rho v by del t, okay, so into dv. Okay, just I am taking this different that rate of change of differential term into inside the integral, okay. So now we know with respect to this, so what is the rate of change of the charge which is decaying from the volume, so that will be equal to this. So now we can compare this equation, so whatever this del dot j into dv, the volume integral, so now this is nothing but which is equal to this one, okay. So now we can write this one and this one, because these both are equal, so this will give this one and this will give this one, so we can equate these two terms, okay. So we can equate those terms, that is del dot j into dv which is equal to minus volume integral of del rho v by del t into dv, okay. So now since both sides are volume integrals, so we can write that final equation, that del dot j which is equal to minus del rho v by del t. So this is what we can call it as the continuity equation, okay. and it is derived by using the principle of charge conservation. That is, whatever the net current which is flowing from the closed surface or open volume, that will be equal to the rate of change of decaying of that charges. Okay, so that is what the continuity equation, and it is derived from the principle of charge conservation. So now if I take the this continuity equation, so whatever we derived, so del dot j, which is equal to minus del rho v by so del t. So now if I take any charge within the, which we have already seen the material, so how the charge which will takes place, the distribution in the conductor. So because of that, it will suddenly go to the surface, it will become, the inside electrostatic field becomes 0, so that we know. And so if I take any accumulation of charges, okay, at any point, so this continuity equation says there is no accumulation of charge at any one particular point. Okay, so that's why for steady currents, okay, so this del v by del t which will be equal to 0, that is for steady current. For steady currents, this will be equal to 0. So that's why when this will become equal to 0, your del dot j will be equal to 0. Okay, so this shows that, so whatever the charge which is leaving, so from the that closed surface or the volume, so which is equal to the total charge entering it. Okay, so that is what, so which we have seen here also. So in this equation, which is, it says that only, so that is what we are saying here. So that is the conclusion from this continuity equation, that the charge leaving a volume or the closed surface, okay, so which is same as the total charge which is entering it. So which actually we can compare it to the network theory law, that is the Kirchhoff's current law. So if we have a node here, so whatever the total current it is going out, and it is equal to the total current coming into that node. So the same concept here. So the continuity equation gives that, so whenever the total charge leaving the volume is same as the total charge entering it. Okay, so that is what the continuity equation. And so, and we can introduce, if I introduce some charge at any material, inside the material, say for example this is the material, so if I intentionally put it the charge inside the material medium, okay, so now what happens? So if that material, it may be conductor or it may be a dielectric. Okay, so that if I introduce the charge inside the material, so then what happens? Whether this charge remains same here or it will move to somewhere else. So that depends on the material, that we will see. So in which material, whether it is stays there only, or in which material it will move out. Okay, so now from Ohm's law we know, so that current density which is equal to sigma into E. Okay, and from Gauss law, so we know that del dot D which is equal to rho v. Okay, so now this is what the point form, so which I asked, so in the test also. Okay, so now we know D equal to del dot epsilon E which is equal to rho v. Now we treat this epsilon as a constant, and if we can take outside, so del dot E which we can write it as rho v by epsilon. Okay, so now from the continuity equation, so whatever we know, del dot J which is equal to del rho v by del T. Okay, so now J, if I substitute here, del dot sigma into E which is equal to del rho v by del T. Okay, so now we know the electric field equation. So from this, whatever the equation which we have, and we can substitute del dot E, so which is nothing but rho v by epsilon. So now if sigma is constant, I can take outside, so del dot E, so which is equal to minus del rho v by del T. So now E, you can substitute that del dot E, we can substitute it as rho v by epsilon. So then we can write sigma rho v by epsilon which is equal to minus del rho v by del T. Now if I take this, so this side, so of this equation you will get del rho v by del T, so which is plus sigma into rho v by epsilon, which is equal to 0. So now you can see, so the rho v is with respect to t, it is varying. So this is a homogeneous ordinary differential equation, that is linear ordinary differential equation. So now we can easily solve for the rho v by using separating the variables. So we might have studied the technique of separating the variables. Okay, so just take rho v one side and t other side. Okay, so if I do like that, so what we will get? So we will get del rho v by del t. So we can again write it as minus sigma rho v by epsilon, and del rho v by rho v, so which is equal to minus sigma by epsilon into del t. So now we have separated with respect to rho v and t. Okay, so now this 1 by rho v with respect to the rho v, so if you integrate it, so we will going to get ln of rho v. Okay, so this one we will get the ln of rho v, which is equal to minus sigma by epsilon, so into t. So del t, if you integrate it, it will give t plus the constant of integration c. Okay, so now the constant of integration, I will take it as the initial charge density, which is equal to ln of rho v naught. This constant I am taking the initial volume charge density. Now if I substitute that one, ln rho v, which is equal to minus sigma by epsilon plus ln of rho v naught. Okay, so this is the equation which we get. So now take this one, this side, ln rho v minus ln rho v naught, which is equal to minus sigma by epsilon. Okay, so now, so this one ln a minus ln b, so we can write it as ln of a by b. Okay, so ln of rho v by rho v naught, which is equal to minus sigma epsilon. So now if I take this ln this side, it will become e power. So then we can write rho v equal to rho v naught into e power minus sigma by epsilon into t. So t is there here. Okay, so this will give rho v equal to rho v naught into e power minus sigma by epsilon into t. Okay, so now this sigma by epsilon, so we can write it as, so the relaxation time, so that is the ratio of epsilon by sigma. So this actual ratio, which is called as a relaxation time. Okay, so now we can write that equation in terms of relaxation time, so which is given by, so rho v, which is equal to rho v naught into e power minus t by tr. So now this is what the relaxation time. So that relaxation time, which is nothing but epsilon by sigma. Okay, so now this rho v naught will be the initial volume charge density. Okay, initial volume charge density. So now this shows that, so whenever I introduce the charge in the material medium, it will go into decay. Okay, so this term, that is what it is showing, that this is the initial volume charge density. After placing some particular charge inside the material medium, it will go on decaying. Okay, so this is actually the TR, which is relaxation time or the rearranging time. That is, the charge will going to rearrange itself within the material, or it may stay some point. Okay, so that time which will be called as relaxation time or rearranging time. So this actually it will decay so exponentially with respect to whatever the initial volume charge density. Now let us take some example. Say for example, if I place the charge in a conductor. Okay, let us take, so I am placing the charge in the conductor. So let us take copper, so which is having some sigma, or copper, or any this thing you can take, which is having the conductivity of 5.8 into 10 power 7 Siemens per meter, and epsilon, which is equal to 1 for copper. So now we can calculate what is relaxation time for the conductor. Okay, so the charge, whether it will suddenly moves or whether it stays in the, so within the medium, that is the conductor medium. So now if we calculate this one, so epsilon by sigma, Okay, so this will give epsilon r epsilon naught by sigma. Epsilon r is 1. So now if you substitute epsilon naught, so it will give, so 10 power minus 9 by 36 pi, so that we have already know. And sigma, if you substitute 5.8 into 10 power minus plus 7. Okay, so now this TR which gives, so that is 1.53 into 10 power minus 9 second. So now you can see for the relaxation time for the conductor whenever I place a charge inside the conductor. That means the relaxation time is very less. That means the charge automatically it will move to the surface of the conductor, because when we study the conductor, so whenever we have the charge which is externally applied, so that actually suddenly it moves to the surface of the conductor, that conductor which is having a freely movable charges. So even if I forcibly inside conductor, if I put the charge, so that will go to the surface. So that is quickly it will go to the surface. So that is what the relaxation time says. Now if I take, let us take the other material which is dielectric material. So if we have the quartz, if I take the quartz, so this is dielectric material, and sigma for this it is 10 power minus 17 Siemens per meter. Now if I calculate for TR for this quartz, okay, so this will give, so actually epsilon r for the quartz it is 5. Now if I take that one, so epsilon r is 5 and epsilon naught is 10 power minus 9 by 36 pi divided by 10 power minus 17. So now if I calculate for TR this one, it will comes around some 51.2 days. Okay, so you can compare this and this. So now if I put the charge within the dielectric material, so it will stays more long time. So you can see here, say for example for quartz, if I take, it will take 51.2 days and it will stays at the same point and it will not vanish that much easily. Okay, or if you take the conductor, so that rapid change of the decay of the charge happens and it will go to the surface. So that is what the relaxation time says. So that the relaxation time is good for dielectrics and it is so very much less for the conductor. Okay, so very large relaxation time is there for the very good dielectrics. Okay, so now this is about the relaxation time and continuity equation. So is there any doubt? Is it understood? Anybody? Okay, so now let us move to the next concept, which is called as boundary conditions. So now what are boundary conditions? Now till now we have discussed the field quantities, whether it electrical flux density or electric field intensity inside the material medium. So now if we have two mediums which are separated by some interface, okay, or we have the field which actually we need to know what exactly the fields in two different material medium. So what happens, the field at the interface of two material medium. Okay, so now we have already seen the conductor, dielectric, everything. So that is, we actually discussed the electric field, so in that material medium, so which are called as homogeneous medium. So now if the field so exists in a region, so which consists of two different medium, say for example this is medium 1 and this is medium 2. So now if I have two mediums, so with a different media, with a different epsilon r and different the conditions, okay, so generally we'll take in terms of epsilon r. Okay, so let us take this epsilon r1 and epsilon r2. Okay, so now what happens in this interface that is connecting these two media, so this interface, what happens to the field condition? Okay, so that conditions where the field need to satisfy some conditions at this interface, so those are all called as boundary conditions. So because this is a boundary between the two media, so now what are the conditions need to be satisfied by the field quantities, that is called as the boundary condition. Okay, so now there are many different boundaries are there, so boundary conditions are there, that is for different mediums. So say for example, if the medium 1 is also dielectric and medium 2 is also dielectric, so then we will call that boundary conditions as dielectric boundary condition. The first one, if the both medias are dielectric with the different epsilon or values, then we will call it as the boundary conditions which will be applied to this one as dielectric boundary condition. Now similarly, if I take the first medium which is conductor, okay, so then that boundary condition we can call it as conductor dielectric boundary condition, or we can call it as dielectric conductor boundary condition. And one more thing, so if you take, so the first medium as conductor and second medium as free space. Okay, so if I take free space and the conductor of that these two mediums, then we'll be call it as conductor and free space boundary condition. Okay, so these are all the different boundary conditions are there. So now we need to derive the conditions for the field quantities for different mediums. Okay, so that we will see for the first one how we can able to derive the boundary conditions for the dielectric boundary condition. So now let us take the dielectric boundary condition. Okay, so now in order to derive the field quantities for this dielectric boundary, okay, so we need to use the Maxwell's equation. So we already know the closed integral of E dot dl, which is equal to 0. We have to use this equation. And one more thing, so d dot ds, so that will be equal to the total charge enclosed. So this, the whenever we do the electric flux density, so that we know. Okay, so now we need to use these two equations in order to derive the boundary condition for dielectric and dielectric medium. So where Q is the total charge enclosed, so by the surface which is applied. Okay, so whatever the surface, closed surface which is applied, this is the Q enclosed is the total charge, total free charges enclosed by the surface. Okay, so now also we need to decompose the field quantities, that is electric field and as well as the flux density. Okay, so now we have to decompose this one two components, that is the tangential component and the normal component. Okay, so this is what very much required, because we need to find out what is the tangential component and what is the normal component at the interface. And similarly this one, the tangential component as well as the normal component for the flux density also. Okay, so now we can see, so we can write the figure how we can able to write the tangential and normal component. Let us take this as the boundary or interface. So where we have epsilon r2 or epsilon 2 and epsilon 1. Okay, so there are two different mediums, dielectric medium, and this is having some different epsilon r and this is having some different epsilon r. So now there exists the tangential component as well as normal component. Let us say from the medium 1 we have E1t, that is tangential component in the first medium, and even similarly you have the normal component, so which is exists. So this is the normal component E1n, and the resultant E1, so we can write it as E1. Okay, and similarly in the second boundary we have the tangential component in the second medium, and similarly we have the tangential, that is normal component in the second medium, that is E2n, and the resultant we can write it as E2. Okay, so now in order to derive this or in order to obtain the field components for this, now let us take a small elemental closed surface. Okay, which is having a width del W and which is height which is having a del H. Okay. So now let us take A, B, C and D. Okay. So now we need to evaluate this expression for this small elemental closed line. Okay. So in order to obtain the field quantities. So now we can apply the field quantities. So along this A, B, C, D, the closed line. Okay. So now we can see here. So in this direction, so there is E1t and E2t. Okay. And in this direction E1n and E2n. So now let us apply this one E dot dn. So now if I apply that one, so E1t into del W. So this is E1t in the AB direction. And similarly, so only apply half of this one del H by 2. So because E1n is there. So in the first medium E1n is, so in the negative direction, if I am going in the line integral negative direction, so because this direction is opposite to E1n, so that's why, so we will write it as E1n into del H by W. This is in the first medium. Now coming to the second medium, what will happen? So we'll be having E2n. Okay, so you can see, so that is also opposite here, that is minus E2n into del H by, so del H by 2, sorry, del H by 2. So now similarly you can apply the E2t, so which is opposite in this direction, so that we can write it as E2t into dW. And similarly we can write this for the line AD, we have normal components E1 and E2 which are in the same direction, so that we can write it as plus E2n into del H by 2 plus E1n into, so del H by 2. So that will be equal to 0. Okay. So this is what the field components along this closed line. So now we can see E1 del H by 2, E2 del H by 2. So those are all cancel each other. Okay. So now we have left out with E1t del W minus E2t del W, which is equal to 0. Okay. So now we can write that one. So E1t into del W, which is equal to E2t del W. So now this will give E1t, which is equal to E2t. So this is very important equation, because so it says that the tangential component at the interface, okay, those are all equal and continuous at the interface. So there is no discontinuation happens for the tangential component of electric field. So at the interface, so there is a continuity of the electric field at the boundary or interface. So now we know, so the flux density, so in terms of electric field intensity, that is nothing but epsilon E. So now if I apply that one, so we will get epsilon E1, or you can have this d by epsilon 1. Okay, so which is equal to d2 by epsilon 2. Okay, or d1t, because we are evaluating only the tangential component, we can write d1t by epsilon 1, d2t by epsilon 2. So now we can see, so there is no equal amount of flux density which is there for the tangential component. It is divided by different epsilon values. So that's why at this boundary or interface, the flux density is discontinuous. Okay, or it is the flux density undergoes some changes. Okay, so that is what we will get from this boundary conditions. Okay, so there is a continuation of electric field or tangential component of electric field which is continuous at the interface, while as flux density which is so discontinuous or undergoes some change. Okay, so that is what, so two equations for the tangential component. So now we can see what actually happens to the normal component. Okay, for the normal component we have to use this equation. Okay, so now we know, so if I take the differential charge, so that is del Q, which is equal to rho s into del s. Okay, so if I take some this boundary condition, so if I write the figure for this, So we can have the even we can have tangential component of this and normal component, and we have the d1, and similarly here d2t and d2n, or we can have here, so that will be easy to see the vectors. So the same parallel I am taking here d2n, and if I want to evaluate for the normal components, okay, so what I'll take just a pill box or cylindrical box, okay, so which is having the height del h and the surface del s. Okay, so now we know the electric flux density. So if I evaluate, so only on the surface it exists. Okay, so either it is in the bottom or in the top. Okay, so there is no the flux density around the cylinder. Okay, so now if I take that one, so if I take this equation, okay, so now if I apply the whatever q, del q, differential q, you can write this equation as del q, which is equal to d dot ds. Okay, so that is also, so which is there. So from this equation del q we can write it as d dot ds. Okay, so that or del s, so that if I apply here in the same whatever we get here, so we are going to get rho s into del s, which is equal to d1n into del s minus d2n into del s, because we are having only the normal components in the surface of the cylinder. Okay, so this is d1n in the first medium and this d2n in the second medium. Okay, so now if I apply that one, so we will going to get this equation, or we can have d1n minus d2n, which is equal to rho s. Okay, so this is what the equation we will going to get. So this actually assumes the Gaussian surface. Okay, so Gaussian surface we will going to get the normal component. So whenever we have the unit vector which is normal to this surface. Okay, so this is what d1n minus d2n, which is equal to rho s. And if I assume this, the surface charge density, okay, so placed which is at the boundary, which is equal to 0. So if I assume that rho s is 0, okay, there is no free charge which is exist, so at the interface. So now then if rho s is equal to 0, if I assume that there is no free charge which is there at the interface, then we will be having d1n equal to d2n. Okay, so thus whenever we take the normal component, so there is no change in the normal component of the flux density. Okay, so there is no change, or there is no at the interface there is no change happens for the normal component of the flux density. That means the normal component of the flux density is continuous at the interface. Okay, so whenever we take the normal component of the electric field, so then we know epsilon into E1n, so which is equal to epsilon 2 into E2n. So now if you take the normal component of the electric field, so always there is a change. Okay, so that's why we can have epsilon 1, so E1n divided by epsilon 2, so which is equal to E2n divided by epsilon 1. So that also we can write like that in the ratio form. Okay, so there is a change in the electric field intensity at the interface. That is, the normal component will go, so change, and there is a change in the normal component at the interface, and there is no change, and it is continuous at the interface, the electric flux density. So these are all the conditions for dielectric boundary. So let us have that 4 equations. Okay, so we have the electric field intensity, the tangential component, which is continuous at the interface, and there is a change which is happens so there is a change happens to the tangential component for the flux density, and similarly we have normal component, there is no change which is happen at the interface for the flux density. So similarly we have epsilon 1 E1n, so which undergoes the normal component of the electric field, which undergoes the change. So this is what the four equations, the boundary conditions, so for the dielectric and dielectric boundary conditions. And also the important thing here is we can able to use these boundary conditions to determine the refraction of E field across that interface. So if you have two boundaries, how the refraction happens, and we can find out by using these boundary conditions. Okay, so this is what the dielectric boundary conditions. So now let us see, so what is that refraction, how we can able to find out the components by using this, so four conditions. So now let us have the boundary or interface. Okay, so there is a normal, and if I apply the field here, so there is, so from medium 2 and this is medium 1, and if I apply the electric field, so here, so there is a change which happens, that refraction. Okay, so now the angle which is from the normal, which is called as theta 1, and we have the tangential component E1t, and there is a normal component E1n, and even similarly we have the tangential component of flux density and the normal component of flux density, and which actually, so this from this to this, that is d1. Okay, and similarly here, so there is E2, the tangential component E2t, so instead of writing here it is parallel, I am writing here. Okay, and there is a, so E2n, the normal component, and similarly we have, so this is D2t, the tangential component, and from here to here D2n, and this is D2 from this point to this point. Okay, so now we have considered for two mediums, so D1 E1 for medium 1, D2 E2 for medium 2. Okay, so now if I take this, so the same tangential component and I expand here. Okay, so then what will happen, so if I expand here for the electric field component E1t and E1n, so now we have theta here, so this is, we have theta, and this E1t we can write it as, so that E1 into sin theta 1. Okay, so that is what we will get, E1t which is equal to E1 sin theta 1, and which is E2 if I apply, so since it is symmetrical angles, so the same theta 1 here it is there, or we can assume this as theta 2 also. Okay, because so there is a refraction happens, so there is no actual symmetry exists. So if I take theta 2 and this E2t which is equal to, so E2 into sin theta 2. Okay, so because of this refraction, so the angle will be changed. So this ratio, because E1t equal to E2t, which we have known the boundary condition. So if I apply that one, so you will going to get E1 sin theta 1, so which is equal to E2 sin theta 2. Okay, so this is one equation, and similarly if I apply the boundary condition for normal component D1n equal to D2n, so we are going to get epsilon 1 E1, so cos theta 1, because we are applying the D1n here. So if I take D1n, and so if I take with respect to this theta, so this D1n, so which will be actually the cos theta. Okay, so this component is sin theta and parallel one is the cos theta. Okay, so that we will get epsilon 1 E1 cos theta 1, so which is equal to epsilon 2 E2 cos theta 2. Similarly we will get for the medium 2, so this is cos theta 2. So now we have this equation, so let us take this equation 1 and equation 2. Okay, so now if I divide the equation 1 by equation 2, so what will happen, equation 1 by equation 2, so which gives, so E1 sin theta 1, okay, so divided by epsilon 1 E1 cos theta 1, which is equal to E2 sin theta 2 divided by epsilon 2 E2 cos theta 2. Okay, So now what we'll get, E1 will get cancelled. So sin theta 1 by cos theta 1 we can write it as tan theta 1 by epsilon 1, which is equal to tan theta 2 by epsilon 2. Okay, so now epsilon, which is nothing but epsilon naught and epsilon r. Okay, so we can have epsilon naught for same, so for both, so we can write it as tan theta 1 by epsilon r1 epsilon naught, which is equal to tan theta 2 by epsilon r2 epsilon naught. So since epsilon naught get cancel each other, so we can write tan theta 1 by tan theta 2 ratio, which is equal to epsilon r1 by epsilon r2. So now this is what the law of reflection. So it depends on the two dielectric constants of the material medium. Okay, so if I have two different epsilon r, it undergoes the refraction, and we can find out the corresponding angles, angle of incident and angle of reflection, angle of refraction. Okay, so that is what. So this is what we have find out for the refraction application, where we have assumed it as rho s equal to 0. That is, there is no free charge available at the interface. So that is what we need to know. So that we need to assume always there is no free charge at the interface, and there is a two different epsilon r. So we will get the refraction application. We can find out the incident and refracted angle by using this two different epsilon r. Okay, so are two different dielectrics. So this is what the application, how we can find out the refractive angle or incident angle with the two different boundaries or different dielectrics. So now if I take the conductor dielectric boundary condition. Okay, so if I take the conductor dielectric, now till now we have discussed the dielectric boundary condition. Now if I take the conductor and dielectric boundary condition, what happens? Now if I take the conductor dielectric boundary, so now let us have the first medium, so which is conductor. Okay, let us assume the first medium as conductor and second medium as the dielectric. Okay, so now what happens for conductor? We already know the E equal to 0, rho v equal to 0, so inside the conductor, and we have some elemental line which we can take ABCD for evaluating the tangential and normal component of the fields. Okay, so now since the conductor which is having E equal to 0 and rho v equal to 0, let us take this length as del w. Okay, so now we have the dielectric which is epsilon, which is given by epsilon naught into epsilon r, and which will be having the tangential component Et and the normal component E1 n. Okay, so E1, so E1 we can just take Et and En, and we have the E for the dielectric medium. Okay, so now if I consider E1 for the normal component in order to find out, so we will be having the normal component and tangential component. And if I take the cylindrical surface in order to find out the normal component, let us take this, assume it as a Gaussian surface. Okay, so now we have conductor which is equal to the E equal to 0. Okay, so now for this conductor and dielectric boundary condition case, what will happen? So since the E is 0 and rho v is 0, and also it will become sigma, so sigma will be, so if I assume the perfect conductor, so sigma will be equal to infinity. Okay, and the rho c resistivity will be 0. Okay, so now even the practical cases the perfect conductor doesn't exist, but so some conductor which is having a high conductivity will assume it as a perfect conductor. Okay, so like copper, lead, silver, those are all the high value of conductivity. We can assume those are as a perfect conductor. So now assuming this the boundary or this medium which is a perfect conductor, okay. So now we are going to determine the boundary condition for this conductor and dielectric, okay, interface. So now since E equal to 0, so in this medium, so now let us have the same equation which we have earlier, E dot dl which is equal to 0. So now if I apply that one, E1t, okay, so or Et for this one, so don't share anybody anything, okay, if you share it will stop, okay. So Et, if I apply this one, so okay, so Et into del W, okay, so for this again, so minus Et into del H by, so En, so because En is there for this one, so again this will be 0 for the second case, and also E2t 0, and this whatever normal component for this complete medium will be 0, okay. And similarly we have, so this component, so that is En plus that is del H by 2, so which is equal to 0. So that means, so the tangential component will be 0 always for this dielectric and conductor boundary conditions, okay. So this is what we have. So this Et whatever if you take for the conductor medium, it will be 0, okay. So that's why this Et is always, it will be 0, the tangential component for this conductor and dielectric boundary condition. So now similarly if I apply the normal component, so we'll be having, so the cylindrical surface will be having the normal component, okay. So now if I apply for that one, so what you will going to get, so that del Q, okay, so which is equal to, so dn into ds. So since there is no normal component here, so for the conductor case, so that will be, so minus 0 into ds. So what we'll get, so we'll get, so dl, so which is equal to, so the rho s. So this we know already, rho s into ds, so that we can write rho s into ds, okay. So now we can compare this equation and we can write. So what happens, the normal component which will be having some static charges, okay. So that is what, so we'll be getting for the normal component. So under this static condition, so we can conclude some points, that is E equal to 0 for the perfect conductors, there is no E field exists, and also, so we know for the equipotential body which is the electric field will be 0, okay. So there is no potential difference exists, so between 2 points inside the conductor, so that's why that conductor we can call it as equipotential body. So now the electric field E, so it should be external to the conductor, that is always there is a normal component exist. So whenever we have the conductor medium, so we need to have the normal component always, in order to, so energy transfer takes place from the one medium to the conductor, okay. So that is what, so we can write the dt which is equal to 0, Et which is equal to 0, okay, and dn which is equal to rho s. So this dn we can write it as epsilon naught epsilon into E which is equal to rho s, or we can write epsilon naught epsilon E equal to rho s. So this is what, so we are going to get the condition for conductor and dielectric. So that's why always, so we need to have, so if I have the conductor here, so I need to put the electric field always normal to this conductor, okay. So then only we are going to get the maximum energy transfer for the conductor. So that's why in many applications you can say, so the antennas or transmission line applications, so the normal component of electric field always, so it will be put on the conductor, that is the electric field orientation should be matched with the conductor field orientation, then only we will get the maximum energy transfer, okay. So this is about the dielectric and conductor boundary conditions. So this will be, so the conditions for those. So important application we can say the shielding mechanism, okay, because of the E equal to 0 inside the conductor, so there will be a shielding mechanism which can be done by using this condition. Okay, so now if I have the two conductors, okay, so which is surrounded by this one. Okay, so if say for example conductor B and conductor A, so conductor A is grounded. Okay, so if I ground it, so then so the shielding happens between the conductor. Say for example conductor C is there outside this body. Okay, so now A will be acts as a shielding, so for conductor B and C. So there is no charge transfer, or there is no the energy transfer takes place between B and C. So since the E equal to 0 inside a conductor, that is what we actually apply, that is electrostatic screening or electrostatic shielding. Okay, so because of the condition which is E equal to 0 inside the conductor. Okay, so that happens. So application oriented concept, we can apply this for electrostatic shielding or electrostatic screening. Okay, so this is what the conductor dielectric boundary condition. So if you have any questions you can ask, or if any doubt you can ask. So anybody, any doubt? Hello? Understood? Asma Banu? Hello? Halima? Asma Banu?
Yes, sir.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt?